Last week, we questioned how plants use natural resources to generate their foods and energy. This week, we're going to put the spotlight on us. And we're going to ask the questions how we generate and transfer energy. When we think of these structures that produce our energy, we associate them with large metal beams and concrete buildings shaped like a chimney that disturb our landscapes and have smoke filling our atmosphere, and turbines that are large and big and monstrous that keep flapping into the wind and disturb our farms and our livestock. But I have a sense of appreciating these engineering marvels that exist to generate the energy to power up our cities. For example, I used to live behind these transmission lines as a child, and people were a bit skeptical about living there, thinking that, large towers that generate energy and pass them over long distances are somehow dangerous to us, and we shouldn't purchase these houses because we have children, and for their safety, of course. On a personal note, I like these giant, monstrous towers that represent the engineering power of society. That, like plants, we want to capture environmental resources and produce our energy, because that's the energy that helps us power up our cities and communicate with one another and go from here to there. Without harvesting that energy from the environment, we would be stuck like a rock. When it comes to generating energy, we're constantly searching for the best options. And sometimes you will find that, for example, having these large transmission lines, they're the best techno-economical option out there, meaning that usage costs and the performance is proportional to the maintenance costs, unlike having wires underground. So, having these large steam metal beams of transmission lines with wires sticking out here and there, or a large nuclear power plant, it all adds to visual pollution. Now, it's a thing, because we see it as polluting our natural environment. There are ways to get around visual pollution. Instead of having something above ground, have it underground. That solves the problem. So we question, how do we regulate the transfer of energy from the producers up to the users? And that's why the smart grid was introduced, as a way to facilitate this regulation via hotspots that transfer information that has to do with how much energy a certain part of that city needs at that dedicated time. And that way, they can make the pipeline of energy a bit smoother, make energy flow smoother, more consistently, like pathways in a plant that are regulated to be more switched on at certain times. That way, it's the communication between the different parties involved throughout the pipeline of energy transfer and any energy production that helps. As a plant biologist, this is all very, very interesting, because the plant is doing exactly the same thing that we're doing. It's using a natural resource, in this case sunlight, to power up their systems. Inside the cell, they have communication systems just like us. They have ways to regulate, modulate the way they transfer energy within the cell, how they use the energy, how they generate the energy. They have backup systems like generators that, in case a system fails or it's down-regulated, they can come and pick themselves up from the ground and still survive. And we're doing exactly the same thing. We produce our energy from natural resources like wind or nuclear, and we store it. we transfer some of it, we keep some generating in backup storages known as reactive power, and just when we need it, when there's a blackout or a power surge, we can just collect it and use it in case of emergency. It's like the plant that's collecting sunlight. It doesn't use all the energy immediately. It collects it and binds it all together into very tight molecular bonds, and just when it's needed, it says, oh, I have that resource available for me. So I take it and I will metabolize it. And it's all very well regulated, because you don't want to use all this energy that you collected whenever. You don't want to spend it, you don't have to waste it, you don't want to waste it. And we are doing just that. But now, we're asking the questions, how as a population do we regulate the transfer of energy and the generation of energy, so that producers and users have a mutual understanding of the needs and the amounts needed. So if you're ever wandering around thinking of a new, revolutionary, innovative idea, study the plant, because they probably have thought about it already.